Hey everybody, it's Kim, and I have a bottle of wine. Actually, I have about a third of a bottle of wine because I've already drank 2/3 of it. But that's okay. I figured that there was no time like the present to tell you about the time that I got hit by a drunk driver. So let's pour ourselves a glass of wine. This is not a wine glass. I don't know where my wine glasses are. But let's pour ourselves a glass of wine. And let's talk about when I get hit by a drunk driver. So this was my senior year of high school. So this was almost 12 years ago now. I don't remember if it was in the fall or the spring. I had just gotten my senior pictures done and I was actually on my way to pick them up. And I never actually did pick them up. I still have the proofs of those photos. Anyway, I was a senior, so I drove to school, and my friend that lived right next to the school was feeling super lazy and he didn't want to walk home, so I drove him home. It was not out of my way at all. It was right there, and normally to continue driving home, I would have either driven out the back side of his subdivision or I would have driven out the front and turned left. But because I was picking up my senior pictures, I turned right instead and went back across the front of the school. So it was literally like you come out of the parking lot, turn left in front of the school, turn left into his subdivision, come out of his subdivision, turn right back in front of the school, and then go where I needed to go. So at the corner, because my high school was on a corner of like two main roads, at the corner there was obviously a light because that's what they put at corners, and it was always way backed up after school because of all the kids, you know, turning and then people picking their kids up and turning out of the parking lot and the buses and everything. So I stopped for the light and I was way back. I was like halfway across the school. So there was like a receiving garage, I guess you would say, but it like drove into the school where they dropped food off and stuff. And the school was kind of like set back. There was the parking lot and there was the football field and all of that on one side, and then where the buses and everything were on the other side, which is where my friend lived beyond where the buses were. Anyway, and the parking lot for the teachers. Anyway, so I was like halfway to the light from my friend's subdivision is basically what I'm trying to say here. And I stopped because the light was red, and not that I could have even gotten anywhere close to the light because it was just backed up, stopped traffic. So I was sitting there minding my own business with my foot on the brake, and all of a sudden my car is moving and stuff is flying everywhere. I remember to this day, 12 years later, that I had like a half-empty Dr. Pepper can. Might have been Diet Dr. Pepper. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I had a half-empty Dr. Pepper can in my cup holder and it spilled all over my dashboard. That's how like hard I was hit. And I swear I had an out-of-body experience because I heard the woman in the back seat of the car in front of me turn and say, "What the hell?" So the people in the car in front of me get out of their car because I hit them. And I like gather myself because I, you know, out of body experience, you have to like put yourself back in yourself. And I get out of the car and I turn around and I hear these women that were getting out of their car and walking to me say, "Did she hit you?" And I was just so out of it at that point because I'd never been in a car accident before. That I didn't even respond. I just walked back and I walked past the back end of my car, and the back end of my car is just like gone. I drove a minivan. It was a 1994, I think, a 1994 Pontiac Transport. It was teal. I actually really loved the car. It was my dad's, but it didn't have an airbag because my dad had hit a deer very recently and he had replaced the hood, but he didn't get around replacing the airbag yet. So I'm thankful that it wasn't way worse than it was because there was just no airbag in this car. But anyway, so I'm walking back and I walk to the driver's side of the car that hit me, and the woman is still sitting in it, and the car is just wrecked. The front end is completely smashed in, like completely flat, and there's just like fluids going everywhere. There's like brown and green and everything. And the bumper of her car was sitting on the ground. So as I approach the driver's side door of this car, and it was a Pacifica, it was a Chrysler Pacifica, and it was silver. She gets out of the car. Now, no one's called the cops at this point yet because we're all just, this is seconds. It's just so fast that everything's happened so far. But so she gets out of the car and she goes, she looks at me, she looks at the women that I hit, and she looks at her car, and she looks at my car, and this is all just like, it was really slow, and I knew something was wrong, and she goes, oh, I know what to do. And she gets back in her car, and she drives away. So I was 17 at this point. I had only had my license for months, actually. I was a brand new driver, but I knew I needed to get her license plate number. So I pull out my phone, which I don't know if you know a whole lot about cell phones 12 years ago, but they weren't really anything. It was just like a flip phone. It was like a Virgin Mobile, like it wasn't a phone like you know today. But I pull it out and I call 911 and I gave them my location, because that's the first thing you're supposed to do whenever you call 911 is give them your location. And I gave them her license plate number and I said, I just got hit by someone. She drove away. I think she was drunk. She smelled like alcohol. So they send someone out to my location, and at that point I'm like looking around, I'm gathering myself because I'm finally like kind of able to understand what's happening around me. And I noticed that my tire, my spare tire, so in the Transport, the spare tire, and I don't know if all minivans are like this, but the spare tire is actually in the outside of the car. It's up underneath everything. She hit me so hard that it snapped the bolt that held that tire up, and my tire had dropped down onto the ground. So there's like my tire on the ground and there's her front bumper on the ground, and I'm just like not even comprehending anything that's going on. Now, while all this is happening, while I'm talking to the police dispatch, the woman that I hit, so the woman that she had pushed me into, goes, I'm gonna follow her, and gets in her car and drives away, which is not a good idea. And I'll explain why in just a second. So I'm just kind of like standing there. The police arrive because the police station wasn't too far away. I lived in kind of a smallish town. So I'm talking to the cops. I explain to them what happened, you know, how I think she smelled like alcohol and how she hit me so hard that she pushed me into the car in front of me, and the woman that was in front of me followed her, which technically should have gotten her in a lot of trouble, because not only did the woman that hit me leave the scene of an accident, but the woman that I hit left the scene of an accident as well. I don't think she did get in trouble though, because as I was talking to the police, she came back. The one that I hit came back. She started talking to the police, and as we were all talking to the police, they got a call on their radios that they were at the woman's house, that she was drunk, and that they were arresting her. So honestly, I think that distracted the police enough to not give a ticket to the woman that I hit for taking off. I also think it really helped that she came back and nobody had her license plate number, because she technically didn't do anything wrong in my eyes. So at that point, I left. I was able to still drive my car, but it ended up being totaled. The repairs weren't worth what the car was worth, because this was like 2005, 2006. The car would have been like 11 or 12 years old at that point, so it wasn't worth a whole lot of money. But my car was totaled, her car was totaled. The woman that I hit was mildly damaged, Not anything that was my fault, fortunately. And she was in jail. And that's more or less where the story ends, because when you're 17, if you get into a car accident, you don't really have any follow through unless your parents have follow through. So I tried to call the court a few weeks later. They had sent some paperwork addressed to my father. They had sent some paperwork to my house. I had opened it because it was in regards to me. And I called the court and they said that without a parent or guardian, I wasn't able to get any information in regards to my case. And I never did end up picking up my senior photos. So the moral of the story is don't drink and drive, and especially don't drink and drive at 2:30 in the afternoon in front of his high school, because that's really not cool. Fortunately, I wasn't injured at all. No one got injured. Well, okay. I don't know if she hurt herself, but she didn't hurt me, and the people that she pushed me into didn't get hurt either. But that's not always the case, and that's not the case in most cases. So anyway, if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I put out new videos on Wednesdays. Please comment down below and let me know if you like the storytime videos that I've been putting out recently. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.